Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to my TEW 2020 WWE series. We're kicking off week 2 of April 2021 here with Monday Night Raw. We start AJ Styles coming out to the ring. He gives a little promo saying that he was the defiant internet champion, but as he thought he made clear last week on Raw, he's done with that. That was below him. He's ready for something more on his level, the WWE Championship, and Edge, the current holder, and he demands Edge come out right now to take his challenge. But it's not Edge coming out, it's Sheamus who comes out. And he kind of goes off saying, why should you, a failure, someone who lost at WrestleMania, get a WWE Championship opportunity? It should be him. Which is followed by Kevin Owens coming out and saying it should be him, and then Dawkins and MVP come out saying that at WrestleMania, Kevin Owens, Sheamus, they weren't there. AJ Styles lost, but Angelo Dawkins won at WrestleMania. He is a winner, and he is the one that deserves a shot at the WWE title. And the four men all in the ring, kind of going back and forth, arguing, till Edge comes out onto the ramp. He just kind of looks down to the ring and he says, if any of you want a shot on my WWE title, if any of you want a shot at me, then you have to earn it. And there's announced main event. AJ Styles, Angelo Dawkins, Kevin Owens, Sheamus, fatal 4-way. Winner will get a shot at Edge, his WWE title at Backlash for a 75. Very good opening segment there. And then next up, Shayna Baszler and Paul Heyman being interviewed by Charlie Caruso, talking about how Shayna Baszler wants a rematch for the WWE Women's World title, when suddenly Shayna Baszler is attacked by Dana Brooke out of nowhere, catching her by surprise. The two women kind of get separated. They're trying to get to each other. Dana Brooke obviously going for a little bit of revenge after the attack by Shayna Baszler last week for a 40. Paul Heyman was superb without a script to follow, unsurprising. And then afterwards, promo plays for RVD, making his big return in the Hardcore Championship tournament. Just kind of reintroducing him, going over his accolades, ECW, WWE Champion, Intercontinental Champion, was he? At one point, maybe? I'm not entirely sure on that one. Just reintroducing him before his match. Up next, Oney Lorcan versus Rob Van Dam. For 38, disappointing. But RVD gets the pin with a 5-stop frog splash to advance in the Hardcore Championship tournament. RVD off his game a little, sadly, but hopefully his performances later on in the tournament can be a little bit better. After the match, we cut backstage. Edge is walking around, he bumps into AJ Styles, and the two go back and forth again, just like last week. AJ Styles saying, you can put roadblocks in my way, but at the end of the day, AJ Styles will come out on top, and at Backlash he will do the same, and the WWE Championship will once again have a phenomenal champion who will then have a phenomenal championship reign. And Edge just kind of laughs to himself and he says, that's all this talk is all well and good, AJ, but you got to back it up in the ring now. For an 80, Edge and AJ once again doing very well. And then it's announced Dana Brooke and Shayna Baszler will face tonight. An actual match, one-on-one. Shayna Baszler not getting the opportunity to... Well, she could if she wanted, but I don't know how well management would react to that. And then Chad Gable comes out once again for his US Open Invitational 83. Chad Gable doing very, very well. Real star. I ask who's going to step up now, and it is MVP Montavious Paul at 81. Very good. MVP obviously had a quite a famous United States Championship reign. I think he's coming out. Says Angelo Dawkins. He's going to become the WWE title contender later tonight. Cedric Allen and Ricochet, they're going to become the Cruiserweight Tag Team Champions, the inaugural ones. Bobby Lashley is going to deal with the Big Show, and then he's going to take the Universal title on SmackDown, and now MVP is going to get something for himself right now with the United States Championship. It's a 64, and Chad Gable is the one who comes out on top with the ankle lock, MVP having to tap, Chad Gable retaining 80 in-ring forms from Chad Gable, MVP with 50, bringing it down a bit. The announcing desk a bit weak, bringing it down a bit. Hopefully Renee Young and Byron Saxton can improve as the weeks go on, and we won't have to deal with that. But Chad Gable retaining once again. Then we go backstage and you have Edge kind of walking around again. He bumps into Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens saying that growing up he was such a massive fan of Edge, and getting in the ring with him has always been one of his dreams. And he says that after he wins the main event tonight, it's going to be an honour to not only get in the ring with Edge, but to be the one that takes that WWE Championship away from him. Edge quite happy. He says that he's always been impressed with Kevin Owens, and he always thought if he came back, Kevin Owens is one of the men that he would want to have fought to have a match with. And he says that he hopes the two men get to do it at Backlash 87. Really, really good. And then next up we have the final first round match in the Hardcore Championship Tournament. Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe, winner facing the RVD. Braun Strowman gets the win. Braun Strowman a bit off of his game. 47 segment rating, a bit disappointing with the 58 and the 54. But oh well, Braun Strowman getting the win. And then afterwards, RVD comes out, and him and Braun Strowman in the ring just kind of square up to each other, stare off. RVD obviously stare up more for him for a 60. A big match. This hopefully will do quite well. Hopefully RVD will be on his game for this one. Braun Strowman and RVD in the semi-final of the Hardcore Championship Tournament. And then next up, Edge bumps into Angelo, Dawkins and MVP backstage. And MVP saying that after Angelo Dawkins wins tonight, and he gets that WWE Championship, there's going to be nothing for Edge, you know. They return to WWE on the same night. Edge, obviously, he's done great, but MVP questions the longevity of it. He says that Edge is the past, Angelo, his client, is the future. And Edge says, just kind of looks at Angelo and says, how far do you really think you're going to get with a manager like MVP? I mean, what can he teach you? I mean, his last match was, like an hour ago? And what happened there? Oh yeah, he lost. And MVP obviously not happy, and Angelo just stops and says not worth it for him. They walk away. 82, very good segment between the three men. Edge doing very well tonight, as expected. And then next up, Dana Brooke versus Shayna Baszler. And Dana Brooke getting a surprise win after the distraction from Asuka, allowing Dana Brooke to hit the roll-up, get the win, 36 rated segment. Pretty happy with that. And then Asuka and Dana Brooke quickly go up the ramp while Shayna Baszler is very much not happy in the ring for the 56. And then next up, once again, Seth Rollins makes his way to the ring. He gives his little sermon, you know, saying that he can't believe he is here fighting people like Bo Dallas, his opponent tonight, when he should be in the main event, when he should be getting a shot at the WWE title, when he should be the WWE champion. But he says he's going to deal with Bo Dallas now, and then he's going to look forward to a brighter future for the Monday Night Messiah for 70. And then in the match itself, it's a bit back and forth, but Seth Rollins, of course, getting the win. 74 in-ring performance, very good from Seth Rollins. 55 match. Yeah, that's fine, that's alright. Pleased with that. And then, just before the main event, Edge, on his own, getting a chance to speak his piece to the camera. And he says all four men in the match tonight are obviously great competitors, you know. But they don't have the fight that Edge does. Edge, away from world champion, had to retire, away for 10 years, comes back, and within, 15 months, he returns. He gets put on the shelf by Randy Orton, but he makes the comeback. He beats Randy Orton. He becomes WWE champion. And now that he's WWE champion again, he says he doesn't want to lose it after a month and wait 10 more years. He is going to do everything he can to keep that title for as long as he can, because maybe this is it for him. Maybe this is the last chance he'll get to be a WWE champion. But he says if that's the case, then whoever beats him inevitably is going to have to pry that title out of his dead hands, because he is not giving up willingly. 83, Edge, the MVP tonight, I would say, with his promo work. And that leads into the main event: AJ Styles, Angelo, Dawkins, Kevin Owens, Sheamus, Fatal 4-Way contendership match. And we get kind of towards the end of it, Sheamus on the outside of the ring turns around, and there is Rambling Rabbit again, just kind of peering over the barricade, waving at him, and Sheamus kind of approaches like, what the hell is this? He's kind of caught off guard, and then suddenly Angelo Dawkins from behind grabs him and spine busters him onto the barricade, him falling over the other side of it onto the non-ring side part, into the crowd area. And then Angelo rolls into the ring, where he's suddenly met by a stunner from Kevin Owens, knocking him outside the ring. Kevin Owens a bit stunned himself that he fell out, and then Kevin Owens turning around into the phenomenal forearm, allowing AJ Styles to get the win and to become the number 1 contender for the WWE title for 64, 71 for AJ, 70 for Kevin, 56 for Angelo, 47 for Sheamus. Could have been better, but that's fine. AJ Styles gets the best in-ring performance, which is what you'd like to see from the number 1 contender. So it will be AJ Styles versus Edge at Backlash for the WWE Championship, in an absolute dream match. I'm sure we could all agree. And then after the match, Sheamus eventually gets up, and he's not happy, he's angry. He's peering over the barricade, and just from behind you see the Fiend pop up, and he pulls Sheamus around and hits a Sister Abigail into the barricade. And Drew McIntyre runs out from the stage. He runs down the ramp, and he gets to the barricade, and by the time he looks over, the Fiend has ducked down and he has seemingly disappeared. And Drew McIntyre gets the medics out to check on Sheamus for an 82. Very good ending there. That concludes Monday Night Raw here. 73. Good overall rating. Highs and lows. Pretty pleased with the show overall. Got the 2 Hardcore Championship semi-final set. Braun Strowman, RVD, and Timothy Thatcher versus Murphy, I do believe. And AJ Styles is the number 1 contender to fight Edge at Backlash. And that is it for Monday Night Raw. Moving on now to NXT. And NXT here, getting underway. We're doing a little rundown of the Cruiserweight Championship tournament. Obviously, Angel Garza vacated the championship last week on NXT. So a tournament to assign new champion, and just going through it. Tonight we have El Hijo del Fantasma versus Isaiah Swerve Scott, and Brian Kendrick versus John Morrison. The winners facing each other. And then next week we have Humberto Carrillo and Finn Balor, and Rey Mysterio versus Kalisto. The winners of that facing each other, I do believe. And then the winner of those matches facing off at NXT Takeover in Your House to crown a new Cruiserweight champion for a 53. It's alright. And then after that, there's a little promo for El Hijo del Fantasma versus Isaiah Swerve Scott, the first match of the evening. It goes over both competitors, giving a little rundown of who they are and, you know, what they're about, a little bit about their history. For a 63, that's done quite well for the both of them. And the match itself, it's a 56. It's done very well. El Hijo del Fantasma getting a win here over Isaiah Swerve Scott with the Thrill of the Phantom Driver, I do believe. 54 in-ring performance for Phantasma, and 52 for Scott. And they had great chemistry. That is very good. That is a good sign, I think. I'm very pleased. I've big hopes for these two guys in particular. Moving on, you have Keith Lee getting interviewed by Sarah Schreiber backstage. Keith Lee, a real star as you'd expect on the mic. 57 segment. Keith Lee talking about the main event tonight, of course, the NXT North American Championship match against Mustafa Ali. Talking about what it would mean to him to win it back. Keith Lee lost the title to Mustafa Ali in November, which does make Keith Lee the longest reigning NXT North American champion. He talked about he is already the longest reigning NXT North American champion, but he wants to win it back. He wants to hold it again. He wants to set a new record. He wants to better himself. He wants to beat himself. He wants to make more history. That's done good. Next up, promo. It's just a little promo video of Aleister Black. It goes over his accomplishments in NXT. You know, NXT Dusty Rhodes Tag Classic winner, former NXT champion. He had a long undefeated streak. There are some words from William Regal about Aleister Black, how talented a performer he is. Someone just like him across the pond. Aleister Black, of course, from Holland. William Regal from England. William Regal talking about he knows personally how hard it can be to make that transition from a more maybe hard-hitting European style of wrestling to come over to America, where it's a bit different. And he talks about how well Aleister Black settled, how well he did in NXT, and how valuable he knows Aleister Black is to the NXT brand. And the next up we have Aleister Black versus Sean Benjamin. Aleister Black a chance to show what he can do in preparation for his contention match with the Velveteen Dream, and he gets the win with the Black Mass. 48, bit disappointing, but Aleister Black with a 52. Aleister Black, the much higher rating than Sean Benjamin there. Expectedly, perhaps Sean Benjamin a bit older. Probably stamina not as high in the game. Aleister Black a little bit of a showcase. And then moving forward, Sarah Schubert interviewing Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez now. Kai and Gonzalez talking about their upcoming women's tag title match at NXT Takeover in Your House. Talking about how much it means to them to be in the position, and how much they're looking forward to taking the belts off of Kai and Shirai and bringing them to NXT where they belong, where they have never been before. Talking about themselves as pioneers, perhaps, going to uncharted waters and bringing home the Holy Grail. And then an Angel Garza promo. Angel Garza building up the match with Cross. He beat Guevara last week. Guevara has become the sole contender. So we one-on-one with Cross at NXT Takeover in Your House. And he talks about how obviously he comes from a wrestling background. His heritage is professional wrestling. His father, his nephew, so many members, and his cousins, so many members of his family have been in wrestling or are still in wrestling. He talks about ever since he was a kid, they would his fathers and his uncles, they would tell him about how it feels to reach the top, to reach the pinnacle of where you are. That feeling of success and adulation, and of finally tasting the wine. And he says he never really understood what they were talking about when he was younger. And then even when he got into wrestling, he never fully understood until WrestleMania 37, where he defeated Andrade, where he won the Defiant Championship. He says just for a moment, he tasted that wine at the top, and it was taken away from him so quickly with the Defiant titles being vacated. He says he never got to fully enjoy it, fully taste it. But now he gets another chance, and he takes Your House one-on-one with Karrion Kross. And he says that's the difference between himself and Kross. That to Kross, maybe it's just a title, it's a status symbol, but to him, he is willing to do anything it takes to reach the top again, to climb that mountain, and to once again taste that wine, because he doesn't know how many chances in life he will get to do so, and he isn't planning on letting this one pass him by. 82, very good. Angel Garza very good on the mic. Then next up we have a tag team match, Lucha House Party versus the MVPs, and the MVPs get the win here. Lindsay Dorado distracted with Cedric Alexander, the referee trying to separate them when MVP sneaks in and hits Grand Metalik, who's on the top rope, with Bra's knuckles, taking him down, allowing Ricochet to get up, head to the top rope, and hit the 630 senton for the win. The MVP's victorious. Cedric Alexander with the 61. And then, after the match, MVPs start to beat down on the Lucha House Party when the Swords of Essex, Will Ospreay and Scotty Essex, run down to the ring with steel chairs and scare them off. 59 for the segment, very good. Slowly building up to that match between the Swords of Essex and the MVPs. And then Sarah Schubert interviewing Mustafa Ali. It's not gone too well. 32. Mustafa Ali not as good on the mic as Keith Lee, but who is Mustafa Ali talking about how he hasn't had that many chances in WWE, how he went down to NXT, he got his chance for North American title and he took it. He beat Keith Lee, and he will do the same tonight. He will retain his North American Championship, and he will go on, he'll beat Keith Lee's record, he'll do whatever the hell he wants, because it is Mustafa Ali's time, and his time is not up yet. Then we have a matchup, Kai vs Casey Catanzaro, a one-on-one rematch, per se, from the contendership match last week, and 50 rated, Kai gets the win over Casey Catanzaro by pinfall. 50 for Kai, 49 for Catanzaro, very close in terms of performance. They got the 50, it's very good. Casey Catanzaro getting better at gimmick, that's good. Kai building some more momentum for herself. Raquel at ringside, the two celebrate after the match, whilst Carter checks on Catanzaro. And then we have, like earlier, we have the promos for the Cruiserweight Classic between the competitors in the next match. Next up, Brian Kendrick versus John Morrison. Goes over their accomplishments. Brian Kendrick obviously had was it the longest WWE Tag Title reign with Paul London. Then there was a match for him. He rebranded, became D. Brian Kendrick. For a split second, a matter of minutes perhaps, he was WWE Champion in the Championship Scramble. He went away, he trained, he learned, he came back in the Cruiserweight Classic originally, and then he didn't win it that time, but he went on, he became Cruiserweight Champion, and he says he wants that again. He wants that feeling of being on top of the mountain. And then John Morrison's promo, he came back to WWE, he became Tag Champ. Then he became Universal Champ. He beat John Cena. He says he was screwed out of the title by The Miz, and he's finally dealt with The Miz, and he wants to build his way back up. He says that starts tonight. That starts with winning the Cruiserweight Championship, and that ends with him at the top of the mountain again. NXT Championship, Universal Championship, WWE Championship. It doesn't matter to him, because he knows the end of this story is a world title around the waist of John Morrison again. 55, and the match itself is a 54. John Morrison gets the win with Starship Pain. John Morrison with the 48 in-ring performance. 24 better than Brian Kendrick, but this is a showcase for John Morrison. If anything, the former Universal Champion gets the win and advances. So it will be John Morrison versus El Helio del Fantasma, I do believe, in 2 weeks' time. Next up, Mickie James interviewed by Sheriff Shriver. Mickie James still has the foe NXT Women's title over her shoulder, so she asks her about it. She says, but you know you're not actually the NXT Women's Champion, right? Mickie James says, I'm the only NXT Women's Champion around here. Tegan Nox isn't here. Tegan Nox is away nursing her latest of many injuries. She obviously doesn't have what it takes to lead NXT, so Mickie James will do it for her. And when Tegan Nox finally decides to come back, when she's finally done nursing that little boo-boo of hers, Mickie James will put her in her place and show there was only ever one deserving NXT Women's Champion around here. And then, like Angel Garza earlier, Karen Cross and Scarlett have a promo for their match. Karen Cross talking about how he respects Mr. Garza and everything he's done. By all accounts, Mr. Garza is a good man. But Karrion Kross is not. He's not a good man. He's a man willing to do whatever it takes to get what he wants. And what he wants is the NXT Championship, and that is what he has. That is what he's not letting go. He says that Angel Garza obviously doesn't realise it, and it's the funniest thing to him that the moment Angel Garza came to NXT, the moment he challenged Karrion Kross, all the way back to the moment he first signed the NXT contract, the moment signing for NXT first crossed into his mind, that was the moment that Angel Garza signed his death certificate. That was the moment it was over for him. And come NXT Takeover in Your House, the debt comes due. The devil comes to claim the soul he is owed when Karrion Kross gets in the ring with Angel Garza and takes what is rightfully his and leaves with the NXT title still over his shoulder. 59. Not as good as Angel Garza, but Angel Garza is very good on the mic. Karrion Kross, improvised well, came out with the segment looking excellent. That's what's important. Based on the Scarlet comments, maybe Scarlet bring it down, but oh well. Hopefully she'll improve. And then next up, the main event, Keith Lee and Mustafa Ali going one-on-one for the NXT North American Championship. And Keith Lee gets the win with the Spirit Long. Keith Lee becoming a two-time NXT North American Champion. Keith Lee 63 in-ring performance. Ali 42, 55 overall. Ali a bit off his game, disappointingly, but what matters is Keith Lee comes to NXT and he wins the North American Championship back. Then after the match, Mustafa Ali walks up to Keith Lee and offers his hands as a sign of respect. The two men shake hands and embrace. Mustafa Ali raises his hand, the crowd cheering, 67, very well. Mustafa Ali exits the ring to leave Keith Lee to celebrate. Keith Lee looking up the ramp to him, thanking him for the match, when suddenly out of nowhere Cameron Grimes slips into the ring and hits the what's it called? His finisher. The Avalanche, is it? I can't quite remember. Onto Lee out of nowhere. Mustafa Ali running back into the ring, but Cameron Grimes has already gone. He's already into the crowd by then. 64. Cameron Grimes getting the last laugh in the segment. Obviously, he has not let his eyes off of Keith Lee even after the tag match. He still wants that North American Championship. And this is just the first warning to the new champion, it seems. That with the NXT title comes a target on his back that will not be easily shaken. And that leaves NXT with an overall rating of 64. A bit disappointing, but like I said last week, with these new divisions, calling up new superstars, it's all about, you got to build them up now, build up their popularity, and hopefully the in-ring performances will follow it up, and then you get the higher match ratings and the higher overall ratings, and it all just trickles down, hopefully. But I'm happy with that. Biggest headline, Keith Lee, the new NXT North American Champion. And that is it for NXT, and now moving on to Smackdown Live, the final show of the week. Going to Smackdown here, and we kick off the show with a promo from Rhea Ripley, just giving the fans an insight into her, letting them know a bit about her, some who may not know her, making a Smackdown debut here. You know, some of her accomplishments, you know, inaugural NXT UK Women's Champion, former NXT Women's Champion, letting her know a bit about herself, what she's here for. She wants to be the inaugural Universal Women's Champion. She got her debut match on SmackDown next in the tournament against Mandy Rose, 82 for this segment, very good on the mic, and match-wise, gets a 47. Mandy Rose off her game, sadly, only gets a 21. Rhea Ripley with 57 though. Very good in-ring performance from her. Rhea Ripley getting the win with the Riptide into Mandy Rose to advance in the Women's Universal Tournament. And then there's an interview with Montez Ford and Caleb Braxton talking about how happy he was last week with SmackDown debut against Dolph Ziggler getting the win. He's interrupted by the Dirty Dogs. Kind of talking him saying, yeah, he beat Ziggler, but you know, Ziggler, he just had a cold. It was an off night for him, you know, because of that. But tonight, they talk to Paige, and tonight he's going to face Robert Roode. And that result is going to be very different. And Ford kind of laughs to himself, and he says, okay then, let's do it. 54 for that. That's very good. And then next, the first match of the $1 Million Championship Tournament, Billie Kay versus Naomi. Naomi getting the win. 42 in-ring performance, 36 from Billie Kay, and a 44 segment rating. It's very good from the two of them, and Billie Kay off her game, so that could have been even better, but oh well. I am happy with that. Naomi advancing in the tournament. And then a backstage segment, Jeff Hardy walking down the corridor, he bumps into the New Day, and they wish him luck, and Big E says to him, "Hey man, if the Bloodline try and get involved, just know that we're going to be out there for you. We're going to support you in that." Jeff thanks them, and they shake hands, they high five, and then they go their separate ways. 75, very good segment. And then something a bit different. It's an in-ring segment. Bobby Lashley with MVP and the Big Show. It's kind of a in-ring kind of weightlifting segment. Both men trying to prove their strength. At 65 for the segment, very good. Big Show looking good. Bobby Lashley lifts a huge amount of weight. He looks very cocky. Big Show begins to do the same. He lifts the same amount and then he puts some more in. And looks like he's kind of struggling, but it looks like he's going to get up when Bobby Lashley hits him, and catching Big Show off guard, him dropping the weights, and Bobby Lashley hitting the spear on him eventually, and standing tall. Happy with that. Next up, Montez Ford versus Robert Roode, the match announced earlier, and Montez Ford gets the win again. Dolph Ziggler accidentally hitting Robert Roode, allowing Montez Ford to get rid of Ziggler. Roode on the floor, hits the frog splash, gets the win. 64 from Ford, very happy with that. Ford getting another win over the Dirty Dogs. And then Kayla Braxton interviews Jeff Hardy for 57. Jeff Hardy talking about his history with Jey Uso, saying he had my respect. We were partners. We were going for the Smackdown tag title. I thought maybe, just maybe, that we could have won it together. But he turned on me. He put me on the shelf. And tonight I'm going to get my revenge for that. 57, very good from Jeff Hardy. Looked good in the segment. Then we have a promo video from DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa hyping up their debut, listing their accomplishments, showing them wrestling again, and then again it says DIY debuting next week on Smackdown. So that is exciting. DIY coming to Smackdown, obviously have that shot coming up for the Smackdown tag title against Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods with the New Day. 73 for the segment. Then next up, the final first round match of the Women's Universal Championship Tournament. The winner facing off against Rhea Ripley, Carmella versus Ruby Riott. And Carmella gets the win with the roll-up. 36 for the segment, 35 and 37 in performances, so probably fair. Carmella and Ruby Riott sadly really off their game, which probably brought down the performances and thus the rating. That's disappointing. Oh well. Ruby Riott dropping into the $1 Million Championship Tournament now. And then Montez Ford walking around backstage when suddenly, I don't know, the Dirty Dogs jump him. They start attacking him from behind. They do it for a bit before Rich Swann and Mark Quinn show up, and they kind of fight them off a bit. Dolph Ziggler and Rude running away, whilst Swann and Quinn check on Ford for 53. And then Kayla Braxton, she's looking for Jey Uso. She's trying to get into the Bloodline's locker room. She's knocking on the door when Roman Reigns answers and comes out. Kayla asks if she can have a word with Jey Uso in preparation for his match tonight. Roman says, "I'll tell you everything you need to know. Tonight, Jey Uso is going to take care of our Jeff Hardy problem. Then, at Backlash, I'm going to take care of my New Day problem. I'm going to beat Big E. I'm going to win the Universal title. And the Bloodline will reign where it belongs, at the head of the table." 64 for that. Roman Reigns very, very good on the mic here. Next up on the card, Liv Morgan versus Sonya Deville in the $1 Million Championship Tournament. And Liv Morgan getting the surprise win here with the Liv kick. 44 segment rating, 33 from Liv Morgan, 44 from Sonya Deville. With that, Liv Morgan getting a big win against Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville not happy. 2 defeats in a row, out of the Universal Tournament and now out of the $1 Million picture as well. Where does she go from here? Kayla Braxton then interviewing Apollo Crews backstage. Sadly, both of them probably could have used the script to follow, but oh well. 35th segment. Kayla asking for Apollo Crews about his actions last week, and he says, Face Bullard underestimated me, and hopefully now, after I showed him what I can do, after I showed him who Apollo Crews is, he won't make that mistake again. Then finally we have a promo video for Jeff Hardy and Jey Uso going over their history, going over their feud. Jeff Hardy and Jey Uso teaming up. Jey Uso turning on Jeff Hardy costing the Bloodline at Elimination Chamber, him beating Jacob Fatu, now looking to get his hands on Jey Uso once and for all, 61. And then finally, next up, the main event, Jeff Hardy versus Jey Uso. This is 64, 65 in-ring from Jeff, 44 from Jey. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's okay for these two. And Jeff Hardy getting the win by disqualification after Jeff Hardy on the top rope, setting up for a swanton when Jimmy Uso appearing from the crowd with a steel chair and smashing him in the back with it, knocking him off the top rope before hitting a frog splash on him. The Usos helping up Jey and the two attacking Jeff Hardy. And the question is, of course, where is the New Day? And then if we cut backstage, it's a bit frantic, and you see Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu with steel chairs attacking the New Day, obviously caught them unaware, off guard, and they're making some quite short work of them here. 67 for that. You cut back to the ring, the Usos laughing, attacking Jeff Hardy, and Jimmy holds up Jeff Hardy on his knees, holds his arms behind his back whilst Jey Uso holds a chair ready to hit him with it when the lights go out. And when they come back on, Matt Hardy is in the ring, Jeff Hardy's brother, behind Jey Uso. Jimmy Uso kind of shocked. Jay's like, what? And suddenly Matt Hardy turns around, kicks him in the chest, and hits a twist of fate onto the dropped steel chair now. And then Jimmy Uso runs at Matt Hardy. He ducks and hits a side effect on top of Jey Uso before checking on his brother Jeff. The Usos rolling out the ring, not happy to be caught unaware. The Hardy Boys reunite, Matt Hardy back in WWE, and Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy getting the better of the segment in the end here, but I don't think Jeff Hardy's going to be happy. Still not fully allowed to get his revenge on Jey Uso, 57 for that. And that is it for Smackdown this week. 70 overall rating. A few disappointing parts, but overall very happy with the show here. Rhea Ripley had a good debut. Jeff Hardy and Jey Uso did pretty well. Ford did well as usual. A lot of developments. Very happy. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. 70 rating for the show. And that is all for April week 2. That's all for episode 3 here. Plenty of exciting things to look forward to next week on Raw. The Hardcore Tournament semi-finals with Timothy Thatcher versus Murphy and Braun Strowman versus RVD, Rob Van Dam, as well as Drew McIntyre taking on The Fiend, looking for a measure of revenge for his friend Sheamus after The Fiend cost him a chance to become the WWE Championship #1 contender this week. On note from NXT, the Cruiserweight tournament continues. Finn Balor versus Humberto Carrillo and Rey Mysterio versus Kalisto, two big luchas going head to head, as well as Mustafa Ali versus Cameron Grimes. Ali looking for some revenge on behalf of Keith Lee after Grimes caught him unaware. We come aware this week. And then on SmackDown, the Women's Universal Tournament rolls on. Rhea Ripley, Carmella, and Bianca Belair versus Peyton Royce in the semi-finals. The Dirty Dogs take on Rich Swann and Mark Quinn. And in the main event, the Hardy Boys and the Bloodline, Jimmy and Jey Uso, go head to head. Two legendary tag teams, two pairs of brothers going to war here. And that should be interesting. So, a lot to look forward to. And if you'd like to see that, please subscribe and like for more. And most importantly, I just want to say thank you for watching. Goodbye.